Here we're going to determine if the graphs of two equations are perpendicular or parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular slopes, however, one way we can explain it is their slopes are negative reciprocals. But if they're negative reciprocals, that means that their product will equal -1. So in other words, if two lines are perpendicular and one line has a slope of m, the other line will have a slope of -1 over m. And when you multiply these, the m's cancel and you get -1. So that's the way I'm going to go about doing this problem. So this equation is already solved. It is in the proper form, y equals mx plus b, and we can see what the slope is. Here, if we divide by 2, we end up with y equals -3/2 x minus 3. So here's the slope, the two slopes. If we multiply them, -3 over 2 times 2 over 3, we see that the 2's and the 3's cancel, and again there's really 1's left when we cancel, and we get -1, and because the product of the two slopes is -1, the graphs of these two equations are perpendicular. Now another kind of interesting way to look at this, if your students had any trig at all, you could do the following, or you could explain these triangles before you do this, and especially if students have been exposed to the Pythagorean theorem. If they have been exposed to the Pythagorean theorem, then you can use the 1, 2 square root of 3, and if you take this triangle in 2, but this is root 3 and 1, well, this is a negative x value, so let's think of that as a -1. And we can see here that the slope of this does, in fact, form a 90-degree angle. And what is the slope of this line right here? The slope is rise over run, 1 over root 3. What is the slope of this line? Rise over run, root 3 over -1. And again, the root 3's cancel and you get 1 over -1, which is -1. Again, if they knew trig at all, this is the 1, 2, root 3 triangle, and opposite 1 is 30 degrees. Opposite root 3 is 60. We know this has to adds up to 180. Since this is 90, that has to be 90 as well. And then by that, we can kind of verify that sure enough it is 90, and we know it's 90, and when we multiply their slopes, we get -1.